Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube blog, and we are in Oxford, and today we interview Naomi. She is an American student who studies here. She does her PhD and she'll talk about her personal experience of living in Oxford and studying here. So enjoy watching.
Hi, my name is Naomi and I'm from the United States of America, specifically Maryland.
Hi, and what do you do here, where we are?
So here we're at Oxford University and I'm doing my PhD, or as they call it, DPhil, in engineering science. So in Oxford, I live in University College, which is the oldest college at Oxford. Every student at Oxford is associated with a college, and there are about, I think, 36 different colleges. And each college is sort of its own contained campus, and they'll have their own chapel where the choir will sing and they'll have Sunday service. They'll also have their own dining hall, which is where all the students can eat lunch, breakfast, dinner. They'll have their own library where you can study and check out books. And then they'll have common rooms for the graduate students and the undergrads. And then lastly, you'll have your accommodation. Every college has its own library, and the awesome thing about the libraries is oftentimes they have all of the books that you'll need for your courses, so you don't actually have to buy any classes. You can just take them out from the library. And the libraries also have money to pay for any other books that you may need throughout your time. And you can use the library at your college. There's also some libraries that are associated with the university, and anyone can use those who's associated with the university. And you can sometimes use other colleges' libraries, but you often have to ask for permission because there's usually a security code that you need to get into the library. The cost of eating lunch in each college varies, sort of depending on how much they decide to subsidize your meals or not. At this college, it's about £3, kind of depending on what you get and how much food you ask for, but it's usually around £3 or £4. So each dining hall has a high table, and that's where if the master of the college decides to come eat dinner, then he'll sit there, and also any professors who decide to come. And also any students who might be a leader at the college, they'll also sit there. And one person from the high table will say grace before every meal. So here at University College, I live in a flat with 5 other students, and we share a kitchen, and we have 2 bathrooms that we share between the 6 of us. Here it is a bit different than the accommodation that I had in the US, but I think that's also because in the US I was an undergraduate, and typically undergraduates will live in dormitories where you don't have a kitchen and you're sharing your space with a lot more people. And that's how the undergraduate experience is here. So I wouldn't say accommodation-wise it's too different. I guess the only big difference is the buildings here are a lot older than any building in the US, so that's always really, really cool. Professor would stay in the college if they would choose to stay in the college. So in this house, there's like a number of different professors that are living. The PhD at Oxford is I'd say it's much more flexible than the PhD at most other universities. In my department, you only need to do research. That is the only thing that you're assessed on. There are no classes that you have to take. There's no teaching that you have to do. It's primarily you working in your research lab producing work. So in that way, it's really great if you have, say, other interests that you'd like to pursue during your time as a PhD student, because you have the freedom to do your work and then work on your side projects, which is good for a lot of Oxford students. As a PhD student, you'll have an assessment every year. So your first year, you'll have something called your transfer of status, where you give a presentation and write a short report where you explain what you've done so far and what you plan to do for the remaining 2 to 3 years of your PhD. The next year, you'll have sort of an update where you'll give a progress report. And then in your final year, you'll have something called your viva, where you just defend your thesis and hopefully pass. So the students usually take their exams at examination schools. Every single exam that's taken at Oxford is taken in the examination schools, which is actually right next to my college, which is convenient for the students in my college. And when you're taking an exam, they have some really interesting customs here. So you have to wear a white button-down shirt, and you have to wear black dress pants and black shoes, and you have to wear something sort of cape vest like over top of your white shirt, and a black skinny tie. Both men and women have to wear the tie, and oftentimes you'll wear a different colored flower on your shirt to denote whether this is your first exam or your last exam, or if this is your last year at Oxford. So the graduate school at Oxford is very diverse. There are a lot of international students, definitely compared to the undergraduate portion of Oxford. In my specific research lab, there are a lot of, I'd say, Europeans and some Americans. But I know in other departments there are students, a lot of students from around the world, Asia, Africa, South America, North America, Europe. So for graduate students, it's usually a lot of graduate students will look for a scholarship to fund their time as a graduate student. And depending on which country that you're from, there are more or less scholarships available. So my time here is funded by a scholarship called the Rhodes Scholarship, and that funds 3 years of my studies, and then my department will pay for the last year if my PhD takes more than 1 year. But usually graduate students have some sort of funding unless they have a lot of money on their own. Yeah, so there's always a lot of things to do at Oxford, it's depending on what you're interested in. Something that I think is really popular during term time is attending the talks at the Oxford Union. And the Oxford Union is known for bringing very controversial speakers, and oftentimes you can like hold debates with them and discuss interesting current topics that are happening. And I know those are very, very popular events that happen here at Oxford. Also, in your college, you'll usually have a lot of social events put on by your Middle Common Room, the MCR, which is specifically for graduate students, where you'll have opportunities to, like, I guess, eat free food, drink free drinks, and just like hang out and relax with the other graduate students. There's a lot of really nice libraries, and not libraries. There's a lot of really nice museums around here, and they're free to access, which is really nice for the students. There's a nice river. The Thames runs through Oxford, which means that you can run along the Thames if you're into running. And a lot of students try rowing while they're here. It's the most popular sport at this university. So any time in the morning between 5 a.m. and maybe noon, you can find students rowing their boats on the Thames and yeah, enjoying the weather down there. Every college has a bar, and that's where the students can come and get cheap drinks and interact with the other students in their college. Oxford has a very strong pub culture in general, so it's not uncommon for students to gather after classes with their professors at a pub to discuss the topics or discuss other things, and just take in the history of the pubs. There's a lot of pubs that have very interesting histories, and a lot of like rumored histories too of people who've eaten there and people who've drafted copies of books in certain pubs and all of that. So pubs are also a very common place to hang out at Oxford. So far, I think I've definitely had a lot of really enjoyable experiences here at Oxford. There's a lot of opportunities to do things that I've never would have been able to do otherwise, because there's just so much funding available to travel or to take courses or whatever it is that you want to do. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I think one of my favorite experiences was attributed to, I took a hiking trip a few months ago in Chile, and I don't hike or camp or any of that. But my scholarship program offered to pay for a group of students to go to Chile to hike for a week and a half and to like learn about the environment there and the conservation work that's happening there. And that's an opportunity that I don't think I would have been able to get at many other universities, but that's just because the alumni network here is so amazing and has so much money that they can provide these opportunities to the students, which is unbelievable.